I will call to order the Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 Board of Public Works and Utilities Committee. I currently have, we'll call it 6:32. And we'll start with roll call. Mayor Smith is not here. Is she online?
She is not
I'm
online.
online.
Oh, there you are.
I am online.
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Alder Diane Wolf,
Here.
Jared Holter,
Here.
Sabrina Steger.
Here.
And I am Alder Steve Knott, and I am also present. Also like to point out that we have our new city administrator here today. We also have Larry Jurassic and Leanne Stokes. Is Dan Stevens online?
No.
Okay, okay. We'll move on to the next section, which is the consideration and action on minutes from our previous meeting.
Motion to approve?
I'll second. Any discussion? Motion to approve by Alder Wolf, seconded by myself. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3, public input. Anyone wishing to provide public input will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. If you would like to provide public input, please provide your name and your address. Is there anyone who would like to provide public input? Yes, just speak up and speak loudly into the microphone, please, sir.
My name is Robert Muth. I live at 317 Spruce Street here in Onalaska. I've been an Onalaska citizen for over 50 years.
Okay.
My purpose of being here this evening is to support the building of a columbarium. I think the city of Onalaska is overdue by far. Our cemetery is one of the finest cemeteries in the state. We get compliments on that all the time. It wasn't that long ago that the cemetery had a committee to do improvements. And I hear it repeatedly. Anybody who's gone through the cemetery, especially like our Memorial Day, comment what a nice cemetery we have, but we're lacking the building of the columbarium. I saw that this was coming up on the agenda tonight. And I did some research and I was surprised, and I talked to a friend who owns a funeral home, but I was advised that over 56% of all burials or deaths now are done by being cremated rather than the full body burial. And I think the tendency is they say that's going to increase. By the year 2055, the Census Bureau said most baby boomers will be on our way to being permanent members of the cemetery. But if you look at the cost of being cremated versus a full body burial, a lot of people are going towards the being cremated. And I think we need a facility for our citizens to have the ability to have that option to go to the cemetery. My wife and I have already decided to be cremated, and we're hoping that this columbarium will be built in our lifetime yet. Otherwise, I told Alderman Wolf I'm not going. So
I'll hold you to that.
I sincerely support the idea of building the columbarium. I hope you do. And I think it's on the agenda for next council meeting. I hope it goes through and this goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public input? Second call for public input. Third and final call for public input. Anyone online?
No.
Okay. Public input is closed. Moving on to item number 4, snowmobile trail for the 2023-24 season. Jared.
Thank you, Alder Knott. Included in your packet tonight is the map of the snowmobile trail throughout the city. This trail does link the Great River Trail to the La Crosse River Trail through the city. This has been the route for a number of years now, crossing at Highway 35 by the Dairy Queen and then connecting the two trails together. There has been no issues in the last few years. I think I can speak for checked with Chief Ashback and said the police have no concerns. They have not had any concerns over the last or complaints over the last few years. We do have a representative from the Cooley Snowdrifter Snowmobile Club that's here tonight that could answer any questions. but this is just our yearly approval of the snowmobile trail.
I'll make a motion to approve the snowmobile trail for the 23-24 season for the Cooley Snow Drifters Snowmobile Club as per our packet.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Alder Wolf, seconded by Sabrina Steger. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 5, change order number 1 for 2022 Row Park Restroom Replacement Project. Again, Jared.
Thank you. In your packet tonight is change order number 1 for the Roll Park restroom replacement. This is for some electrical hand dryers to facilitate not using paper towels in the restroom. If you have any specific questions, I can have Kevin take them as he's been doing the project administration. So there is monies in the budget to cover this.
I will move that we approve change order number 1 for our packet in the amount of $1,260.
I'll second. Motion to approve the change order in the amount of $1,260 by Alder Wolf, seconded by myself. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yes,
Thank
Alder
you,
Wolf,
Chair.
I'm sorry.
You're okay.
I have my reading glasses on. That's for nearsighted. I can't see
Been a
far.
long night. Thank
Now
you.
I can.
Thank you, Chair. So just a couple quick questions. So I note for the record, just confirm either Jared or whomever, that this is just for the electrical wiring only. So, and is this going to be for every shelter at Roe Park? If am I interpreting that correctly?
Yeah, no, Alder Wolf, this is just for the electrical wiring and conduit to install 2 hand dryers, 1 in each restroom that is at the new Roe Park restroom that was city project has just been finished completing.
So
This is only for the 2 for the new electrical service, right? The building we picked was a prefabricated concrete building, right? It came with some paper towel dispensers. The park staff did not want to use that for a variety of reasons. So there was some coring of concrete, running of some new electrical conduit and wire that is included in this cost to get the wired for the hand dryers in each restroom.
And thank you. And a quick follow-up question would then be, do we still need to purchase the electric hand dryers?
No, these were removed and relocated. These hand dryers were in the old restroom that has now been replaced, right? So this was just getting the electrical component for the project.
Great. Thank you so much.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay, now hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes. Item number 6, well number 9, motor replacement. Jared.
In your packet tonight, I do have 2 quotes for a motor replacement at well number 9. This motor is a very large 300 horsepower motor. Drives the pump that pumps our 3,000 gallons a minute at that well. We did have this budgeted in the 2023 approved budget. We did did not replace the motor as part of the 2015 renovation at this site. So the motor is over 22 years old. So it's just time, starting to get tired and the efficiency is starting to fall off. So we're requesting that we get the new well motor from CT W Wells and Pumps in the amount of $37,680 as in the quote.
I'll move that we approve the purchase of a motor for well number 9, award that to CTW Wells in the amount of $37,680.
A second.
Motion to approve by Alder Wolf, seconded by Sabrina Steger. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Item number 7, portable radio purchase for fire department, including funding utilization of 2022 capital improvements for other projects.
I'll start this one out, then I'll get Chief Fleddy up to the to continue on. In your pack tonight, there is a memo from Chief Fleddy that outlines utilization of funds that were within the 2023 capital improvement budget. They did have $60,000 budgeted for a command vehicle. Due to market conditions, they have not been able to purchase that command vehicle. Since he's been on the unseen and as our chief in the last month here, he wants to move those funds to continue on the portable radio replacement, which will facilitate hopefully possibly finishing that in the 2024 capital improvement budget. So I guess with that, if he has anything to add, he can add what he wants.
Yeah, that's accurate. Looking at the memo, and again, thank you for having me, and good to be here. But we would like to use the bonded dollars from that station vehicle or the command vehicle and then move that into the radio purchase. What this will do is actually hopefully move this project up and get it completed in 24 instead of 25. That's the goal. We are seeing our newer radios coming in. They're a little bit different than the other radios as they're an upgraded model. So we just as soon get that project completed. That's kind of our priority.
Yeah, just one question before I go on. I just want to make sure, I don't think there is. Sabrina, is there any issue with moving those dollars from that line item to another line item?
Good question. So Chief Letty did meet with myself and with Jared prior to creating this memo, and I did check with bond counsel and there was no issue. I didn't think there would be, but I just wanted to confirm with them. Essentially, our resolution stated for fire equipment, so it kind of falls under that equipment.
Okay.
Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Chair. So Sabrina, wondering if would the appropriate motion to be, would it be to divert funds in the amount of $60,000 from the purchase of the command vehicle to the purchase of radios? Would that suffice?
Yes.
Okay, I will make the motion, or I will move that we divert funds in the amount of $60,000 from the purchase of the command vehicle in the 2023 CIP towards the purchase of the mobile radios.
I'll second.
Motion to divert $60,000 from the command vehicle to mobile radios made by Alder Wolf, seconded by Sabrina Steger. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8, 2023 Pazer Street Ratings. Jared.
Included in your pack tonight is the 2023 Pazer ratings on the city streets. I want to thank Tim Terrace for going out and performing this work as our GIS person. With that, you can see the graph that is included in your packet tonight. That graph depicts the last 10 years, which is 5 cycles of Pazer ratings. Good to report that our streets are in good condition. The thing that sticks out to me is that less than 10% of our streets are rated a 1 through 4. So the majority of our streets are a 5 and above. Basically any street that's a 5 and above, we can chip seal and send that back to an 8 and then start the cycle hopefully all over again. So our pavement maintenance plan that we have been incorporating over the last, I'd say 20 plus years has been working. You can see that some of our 9s and 10s are down slightly this year, but I think that's just an anomaly. But you can see the one that really makes the most headway to me is the 3s and 4s you see in the graph and how that's had a downward trend. I think the 1s and 2s and the 3s and 4s, we're really never going to get rid of them. We're always going to have streets that need to be done. So where we're at currently is a great spot to be. I think just driving our streets, I think your citizenry would agree with that our streets are in good condition. So just an information item, just wanted to pass that along on our yearly or biannual rating of city streets.
Okay, yeah, it's really good outlook on the 1s and 2s, 3s and 4s. Although there is concern when you look at the 5, 6, and then that's what's coming down the pike at some point. And that's the middle of the road in the streets, if you will, is where we are starting to fall behind. So it's something to consider as we go into this budget cycle. All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you, Jared. Item number 9 is the 2024 capital improvements budget. As we move forward onto this, I know this is always something that is going to take some time. Everyone wants to have input for legitimate reasons and for sound reasons. I know in the past 2 years, I've put in a kind of a organizational structure to it that the intent of that is not to silence anyone's opinions or to limit anyone's input. It's more just to kind of provide a structure to move along more than anything else. So absolutely, this is not, we all have equal input as we move forward. I know last month I asked us to try to be as, I guess, almost draconian as possible, because as we move forward next month, and then as it goes forward into December, history has shown that the projects get added to, not so much deleted from. So I'm looking at trying to be as constrained as possible tonight, if at all possible. Obviously, we all have an equal vote here, so that can be blown out of the water. But with the understanding that as we move forward, there will probably be more discussion and more added on. I'm going to put out my own 2 cents on how I organize this myself as far as a guide. First and foremost, for me personally, I wanted to maintain what we have, meaning whether it be roads, equipment, what we have to make sure is in good working order. We don't want to lose what we've already paid for, if that makes sense. And number 2 is we also have to fund what we've committed to. And there's a project in here where we already have funds committed and we'll have to commit more to complete the project. But all those funds would be wasted if we didn't move forward, as an example of where I'm going with that. Third is improving public safety. And of course, that's going to be law enforcement, fire, EMS. And then I also, in my own personal view, include roads on that as well. Then fourth is improving the recreation opportunities and infrastructure. Fifth is Omni Center. And the reason I have that is that's actually a revenue creating or generating facility. At least it has been in the last several years. And then I have on cemetery, which we did have somebody talking about as well. This is going to rise in a few years as a higher and higher priority amongst all of us, undoubtedly, as plots begin to dwindle. I did ask how many more years of plots we have as an estimate, and I was told 15 to 20, if I recall right.
Depending on which, if you count the new area,
Okay.
part we haven't developed yet.
Yeah, okay. So each year, though, we delay that, that's going to become more and more of a necessity as well. And we have delayed it already for several years. And then last, I just have other. So that's kind of how I went through my own thought process when I came up with ultimately 19 items out of those listed, of which 16 is what I have recommended anyway for approval, and we'll have all this discussion tonight. 17, 18, 19 might be pushing the envelope too much for the first round. So I'm asking for input as well. How would you like to go about this? Would you like to go through using those 7 points as far as, you know, for instance, what is it we need to maintain that we already have? All right. And then moving on from there, would you like me to just go through on my priorities and we can argue and discuss and eliminate or add as we go along? Would you just like to have us go through maybe, and let's start with our first, you know, each of us listing our top 5 projects we'd like to see listed as an example and see where that starts. I'm open to this. Every year's been a little different. Dan.
Well, first of all, thank you for asking. Number 2, I guess I have 2 requests. If I was queen for the day, would be 1, I would prefer that we stay more organized and not jump all over the place. And 2, I would prefer that start with number 1. And we go to Jared and we talk about, because what Aldernate is referring to is about the what we have commitments to, you know, that'll all be fleshed out as he talks about each one. And also the 84-page document that he attached to last month's Board of Public Works. So that'll get all flushed out as we go one by one by one by one by one, because he's already given us all the guts and all the background, which I have to say was fabulous. You know, that was so wonderful, because I know in past years, Jared, you've always had to give us the whole rundown of everything, and you've pretty much, you know, give us a overview with maps and everything. And so I personally really appreciate that, because this is a living document that I'll be able to keep, you know, going forward and keep referencing instead of having to pull minutes and make notes and all that kind of stuff.
I just want to note too that all the department had submitted work on that, so
Yeah.
all the departments came together to get that packet put together,
Yeah,
so.
and that was, for just speaking for myself, that was so appreciative, because it was just so much handier to have it. I put my binder and it's in one book, and, you know, I can carry it wherever I want to and make my notes. And so it's, like I said, it's a living document. So at least that's what I would prefer to do. That would just start with number one, and then Jared could talk about, you know, referencing back to our 84-page document, like what are we committed to, what we have to keep. I know that's how we used to do it. So that's what I would prefer, but that's just.
We've
my-
done it differently year by year. I'm open to anything. Sabrina?
Yeah, I would also be open to anything as well. But I just feel since we do have that packet, like, if we make Jared explain every single project, I guess
Uh,
maybe if
right.
we, you know, since we've done our work and, you know, done the research, but if there's a project that, you know, if we go like page by page, like the first page has 7 items on it, and we say, oh, we want to keep this item in, or if we say you know, someone's not interested in an item and Jared's like, whoa, we need this, then to speak up, I don't know, just the
Yeah.
thought.
Of course, the difficulty is we need it all, but
Correct. And unfortunately, your finance director is not okay with $14.4 million.
Mayor, I see that you unmuted. Would you like to give some comment?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Definitely agreeing with a lot of what I'm hearing. I really appreciate all the work that staff put into providing that background information. And that is a public document that we've all had access to, so I don't think we need to rehash it in super great detail. And I guess my preference would be that we start with number one and make our way through the list and just identify at this point, like at a quick pass, you know, what we're committed to doing and what could possibly be removed as a first pass. And then, because we know that we need to remove a lot of things, even though we don't want to, but I also know that some of these things can wait another year if push comes to shove. So I'd like to just make a first pass. If anyone has any questions, we could address them, but make one pass through and then just kind of see where we're at.
Jared?
I guess my question would be, do we want to work from the list and remove items to get to a number, or get to where we feel comfortable, or do we want to add items to get, you know, we've done it both ways over the years.
It-
Or I guess you do a hybrid, like the mayor said, and kind of circle a project that we know we're committed to, which there are a couple in here.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then, or, you know, other years we've made motions to remove projects and get to a number where everyone in the committee felt comfortable. And we've done it years where we've kind of worked our way up to get to a number too. So, and we stopped when we got where we felt comfortable. So we've done it kind of both ways. So.
Well, what I'm hearing from 3 of them so far anyway, which would be a majority, so I have no problem with that, is that we just kind of go line by line and see who wants to champion what, or who is willing to cut what. And if Sabrina, can you keep a running tally on the ones we say we want to keep? And hopefully we'll get down to a workable number so that next month we can make the real hard decisions to get into a legitimate budget. Because obviously we cannot fund everything that's on here. It's not possible. So we'll do that. We'll start off, and we'll start with line item number 1, the pavement maintenance, which from my perspective, I actually had as priority number 1 because it falls under maintaining what we already have. Does anyone like to add any discussion to that? Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Chair. I have to agree with what Alder Knott referenced earlier about maintenance. For me, I am 100% behind maintenance. I know there's a lot of items on here that talks about maintenance. At the end of the day, if we don't, when we talk about pavement maintenance and such, if we don't have a good foundation, the city doesn't have anything. So I will continue to champion that flag for pavement maintenance and just just building maintenance and maintenance across the board. So you'll hear that from me a lot in case anyone wants to take away any maintenance. So, but yeah, I'm fully supportive of number one.
That's kind of a pay me now or pay me later type of a thing.
Mm,
That's the
Pay
best.
me later is a lot more expensive.
Yeah, that's the best money that we spend on any infrastructure project is our pavement maintenance because it extends the life of our streets and that's the reason that our phaser ratings are where they're at.
All right. Mayor?
Yes, I agree. I think we should leave the pavement maintenance in. And also like it works better if I think a positive state of mind is, prioritizing those things we want to keep. It keeps rather than a negative spin of the first thing I want to cut from this budget. So definitely helps.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
I think right now we're just kind of running with a initial, I'm gonna do these with color coding here. So it sounds like we're in agreement on, is there anyone who disagrees with keeping number one? Well, that's easy. All right, so I'll check that. That's so we're off to $400,000.
Are we done?
Just so we're,
No, we'll do an
Oh,
emotion
I mean,
later
the whole
on.
thing.
Yeah.
so just to be consistent, so we get into, once we get to the ones that are tough, are we gonna make a motion on some of them and not others, or are we
I
just
think
gonna?
we can
or
make
what
a
do you-
motion to eliminate if we can agree on that, and that'll move us forward line by line. And then we'll just
Well-
figure where we're at with what we've.
Go ahead, Mayor. I see your.
Otherwise, we could make a motion to move the ones we indicated forward to next month.
Yeah, the only concern I have, Mayor, is losing control of what we've been discussing as we go along. I don't know. don't-
Historically, have we made a motion every time? I don't feel like that was what we did.
No.
We haven't for a few years. For a long time, we did make a motion for a lot of it, but we haven't for the last couple of years.
Jared, what do you feel like went more smoothly?
Takes more time making a motion
Yeah,
for each item, but the only drawback I see is if we start getting down to the end or something and we're trying to get to whether a project stays or not, and it gets difficult at the end.
Yep.
So everybody's got to make a decision based upon what they feel is right for their viewpoint. And it almost needs to get viewed that way, that we got to, otherwise I'm going to say, let's leave in this project, and I'm adamant about it. And then you're like, well, I'm not going to say nothing, or, it's,
Well, what I'll do is I'll go with what was recommended first, which is I'll try to keep track of what we've agreed that we should keep in. And then I can make a broad motion with all of those numbered line items at the end.
And you could always review, like when we get to the very end, you could
Yeah.
always say, you could say like item 1, 1, 3, whatever, and say,
Yes.
and then we could maybe make one motion, say
That's
that
fine.
we're gonna keep all those or something.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So we'll move on to, so number one, I've got the green check mark, which means we agree moves forward. Number two is sidewalk program. So again, I'll put my 2 cents in first and we'll open up discussion. Is A and B to me are necessity. C is something that we could argue about delaying. Oh, excuse me, A, B, and C are necessity. D is something we could argue about delaying. Again, A, B, and B are maintaining what's already there. And C moves us forward to becoming more ADA compliant within the city, which we've, I think in the past have all agreed that's something we need to do. So my view is 2A, B, and C are actually my second priority anyway, but are a necessity. And D is probably open for discussion. Is there anyone who thinks we should remove A, B, or C?
So my input would be, I would agree with A, B, and C are programs. We gotta keep working on the ADA access. We always have miscellaneous repairs throughout the city, and the sidewalk program is a program that is there for liability purposes. I would say that under our current budget constraints, 2D should be removed.
I agree.
Mayor, do you have
I
a,
agree.
okay. Yeah, it's easy for me to overlook you, Mayor, because there's a delay as well, so don't let me do that. Okay, so it sounds like A, B, and C for number 2 are a yes and D is a no. Moving on to number 3. street paving Ironwood and Cooley Court with a 2.3 Pacer rating, 0.13 miles. That's actually in my district. I've seen it. Is the road starting to deteriorate? Absolutely, which is why it's got a 2.3 Pacer rating. However, I personally think it's still got another year or two left in it, maybe even more. It's definitely getting there. It's been delayed already. But it's only been delayed the 2 years. Voters might not like it in my district, but I'm willing to take a risk on delaying that one. Is there anyone who wants to adamantly support that?
I would add, I agree with Stephen, and also these are not thoroughfares. They're residential streets that do not get a lot of traffic. So I don't anticipate them degrading really fast from here. Unless Jared wants to disagree, I agree with removing it. Just due to the budget constraints, not acknowledging that it does need to be done.
I do too.
Yeah, there is
I-
a time coming in a year or two where that is undoubtedly going to rise to the top, so.
I would also acknowledge that the phaser rating is low, but it is a relatively newer street. We've got another paving project coming up where the streets were paved between 1974 and 1976. So they're going to be 48 to 50 years old next year. We've gotten a lot of life out. This Ironwood and Cooley Place and Cooley Court was paved in the early 90s, but it's on heavier soil. So that's the reason that it's the phaser ratings dropping down, but I would be in support of that, removing it also.
All right, sounds like we're in agreement, so we'll move on to item number 4, the Theater Road PH intersection with roundabout and paving PH to Midwest Drive.
The good thing is 4, 5, and 6 have no current budgetary impact or carryover projects from the previous year.
Roger that. So there's no issue with saying yes to those because they're already done. I mean, as far as the money is.
Funding, yeah.
The funding.
There will be funding needed for 4C in the possibly in the
25.
2025 and also the number 5 in 2025.
But this is one of those where we've already got monies dedicated, I guess, which falls under that second criteria I mentioned, fund what we're committed to.
And I said 4 and 5. I did not mean to have 6 in that, 4 and 5.
So. But that's $0 and then 5 is $0, but we, in theory, that would be a yes moving forward, I guess. All right, and then number 6. Does anyone want to comment on 4 and 5? Again, no funding required for these to continue forward. Okay. Number 6, Midwest Drive, East Main. This is a Pacer rating of 4.8, but this is one where we get a big bang for the buck. Actually, am I doing the wrong one? I'm thinking this is 0.54. Was there not? There's the 1.0.
No, number 6 is the Midwest Drive project that.
Oh, that's yeah.
STP Urban
Yeah, you got
project
a
that
map on
we
that.
actually committed to through the state
Correct.
DOT.
Yes, this is one where, again, we've committed money already, so if we just want to lose what we've already committed, we can deny it. This is a large price project, though. Personally, I'm for it. Diane,
Yes. Got to.
Mayor,
I think, I agree, we need to do it.
This is a casualty also of, and I agree, it has to be done, it has to be, it's committed to, we have to do it. This is a casualty of our price increases that we've seen in the last 2 years on infrastructure. We put in for this grant in 2.5 years ago. And our share has went up because the prices have went up and the grant is capped. So that's the reason for the larger, normally these projects, we have a smaller, it's not 50-50 like you see here. It's closer to that 80-20, 70-30. But that because of the construction costs going up, it just ate away at the grant money.
So Sabrina, if I could do a check going 1 through 6, again, we did not approve 2D or 3. I've got us at 1.48.4.
Correct.
1.4.
$1,408,392.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm off by $8, but I'm rounding. Right, got it. All right, item number 7, street paving, Wells Street from Oak Avenue North to Tenth Avenue North. And I'll turn it over to Jared, but again, my view is, again, it's a 0.25 mile project. It's just not the bang for the buck. It is a 3.0 still on the Pacer. My view is it probably can wait. What do you think? Jared?
So in my mind, 7 and 8 are kind of combination projects because they are adjoining each other.
Okay,
So we get economies of scale by doing 7 and 8 at once. Number 8 is a utility project and number 12 is a utility project. And with our current budgetary constraints, with what we're trying to propose for projects and looking at the other items that will be coming up from other departments and items that are in this budget, I just don't see how we can do a utility project this year in 2024. It just, if we approve a utility project, if we do 7 and 8, you're talking $1 million, or if you do 12, you're almost $1 million. So with our current budgetary constraints, I don't think we can do a utility project. So I don't know how we would do 7 and 8 or 12, in my opinion.
Dan,
Thank you, Chair. So Jared, I know both you and I had received an email, from a second district constituent. And could you talk about that a little bit? Because I believe their request would not even be covered under item number 7. Is that correct?
It would be in the general, we'd be within a block, and we haven't totally finalized the limits yet to see if the utilities are going to get replaced under that block in front of them. So it would be close. We did end it at 10th Avenue right now, but depending on what utilities we replace, it could go all the way to 10th Court. It's 10th Court, right? 10th Court, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought I would get that into the minutes. So, okay, thank you.
is there anyone who would like to argue for 7 or 8?
Mayor, do you have any input?
No, I think just the budget is so tight. If there's anything we can take out, we need to do it. I don't know that we can justify. I mean, it would, if we left those items in, it would mean all we did was some street maintenance and utility projects, and no other departments would get anything.
I agree.
Okay, item number 9 is the bucket boom truck.
So does that mean 7 and 8 are probably on the
Cutting
move
one.
list? Okay,
The cutting floor.
making sure.
Yeah, yeah.
If I can, Mr. Chair, I'll take number 9 and 10, which are the bucket boom truck and the plow equipment. The bucket boom truck, we did budget 100,000 last year, but in our search over the last year, our staff has not been able to find a used bucket truck to be able to purchase. So we did budget more funding to purchase a new bucket truck. This does get used quite a bit around the city for various activities, and trying to rent one would, well, we can't even find one to rent right now. As stated in the budget proposal, the backup data, that it is an older unit. But in my mind, we had last year in the 23, this year's capital budget, we did buy a cab and chassis that is coming. Going to be delivered in March of 24. So it'd be a shame to have the cab and chassis here and not spend the money to put the equipment on it, the new brine equipment, the box, the salter, the plow and everything. So in my mind, number 10 is more of a priority than number 9. So I would say that, and our bucket truck is 28 years old. It is still working, majority of the time. So I would say that number 9 would go and 10 would be a higher priority for the Public Works Department.
Rena,
Jared, in regards to the bucket and boom truck, are you able to purchase one of those right now? I know with the vehicle shortage, like, could you get one if we were to approve that?
We have looked, and depending on when we ask, they come and go. Or we could order one, bid it out and order it, and it would probably take 8 or 9 months to get here. So, just so we know that if our bucket truck does take its last
bucket.
lift
The bucket.
and we'll have to do something because it'll be very tough to be without it. So,
I guess my preference would be that we keep both on for now.
For now.
Mhm.
I had no on 9 and 10 on yes personally, but I'm open to that. I mean, we'll have to make tough decisions later on across the board anyway, so it may stay. So I have no problem leaving them both, I guess, for now, but I definitely would like to keep number 10 personally.
Agree.
Yeah, that, again, that one falls under the improving public safety because that's plowing, so, yeah. Mayor?
I agree with leaving them in for now, but I think we need to keep in mind that we may need to remove one of them in the future.
Okay,
Not today, but maybe next month.
all right. Is that good with you, Dan, if we leave them both for now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Number 11, Beverly Drive Storm Sewer Outfall Repairs Pipe Replacement. Go ahead, Jared.
this is the second year of this request. I think this could make it another year. The pipe does have some issues and some failures, but it's in a remote area that doesn't seem to be harming anything. So I think we could make it another year.
Does anyone want to argue to keep it? All right, well, hearing nothing, we'll take that off, strike it then, and number 12.
And just as I say all this too, doesn't mean I don't value all these projects, and they're very good projects and they have needs. So I just want to make sure that, you know, I understand our budgetary constraints, and we have, like was just stated, we got to get down the list, and there's other needs too.
Well, and I think too, the good thing is that, I mean, it's on a list, and it's a placeholder, so we're talking about it. So,
Mhm.
and once it makes a list, it's going to come back next year, because we know it's not going away. So at least
Yep.
it's there in front of us, and we're made aware of it, so.
Item number 12, I think you've already discussed that too, is probably coming off.
Yep,
Wow.
correct.
Does anyone want to argue otherwise?
The only positive thing is that when you look at the map, at least it covers a lot of area.
It does, and I think
Oh,
I could even let Kevin speak to this a little bit on our infrastructure replacement. You know, we've got projects, if you look in the capital improvements budget right now, a 5-year planned capital improvement budget, we've not only got the Wall Street, Pierce Street area that's in today's budget that we've decided not to do. 6th Avenue North, which should be done, which does have undersized water main on it. Those are both in this budget. In future years, we've got 3rd Avenue North and Poplar Street, which were like 1.8 million, 1.5 million just to do those two. We've also got the area over by Larch and 11th Avenue North and 12th Avenue North. We've got a couple $1 million more to do in there those years. 2028, we're going to have to do in conjunction with the DOT replacement of Main Street pavement. So that's the oldest water main in the city on that section. So that'll have to be done. That's just one of them we're just gonna have to do. That's gonna be probably, this water and sewer is gonna be $1.5 million to $2 million out there. So what we're seeing is a layering of projects that I'm okay with what we're doing, but at some point, we're going to need a funding source to do multiple utility projects that maybe don't impact the general obligation debt. So we've got to find a different avenue, but just so you know that just because we're moving them this year, doesn't mean now you're going to have them plus another one next year.
Okay, well, I think 7, 8, and 12 are all going to have to be done here shortly. If we delay it now, it's just a matter of time before we have to do them, so.
If I may follow up with
Yeah,
either,
sure.
maybe it's Kevin's, also noted under number 12, in the supporting documentation is about Wisconsin DNR has cited the small diameter water main as a deficiency in the city water system. So are we on any type of a timeline with them, or would they just kind of just put us on notice?
No, it's just a little noise. I mean, that would be similar, right? So, number 12 there, 6th Avenue still has, 4-inch water main, that we believe was installed sometime in the 1940s is the last time those utilities were, updated. So that's some of our area, right? There's, we're trying to rid ourselves of any last 4-inch water main as we look ahead, right? So, this one has one. on it. As Jared said, the Main Street project is gonna pretty much wipe us out of another one. There may be one other block I can't think of, but this and Main Street will pretty much rid us out of any water main that was installed prior to 1950 in the city. So that's why that was noted there is
Okay.
some of the age that water main is old. And like Jared said, fire protection size is some of those hydrants along that stretch would probably underperform. Okay, just because of the smaller diameter water main that would be included over there.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Is there anyone who would like to argue that we do retain 12? All right, we'll move on to number 13, the cemetery improvements. I did have this on one of the 19 projects that I viewed that I would like to see funded, but it fell just below where I'd like to see our numbers for today. That was my own, but in all honesty, I have no issue. I think I'd like to see it, I guess, at least move forward to next month and be considered.
I think this
Spring.
council has made a commitment to this.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Sabrina,
think we need to leave it in.
Sabrina,
I would agree. Cemetery is also, not part of the general fund and they are their own enterprise funds. So they do generate some revenue for the city.
Sure.
So I think it's a benefit to expand. So,
okay. See where we go. All right, is there, sounds like we have everyone. Jared, did you have any?
Yeah, I would agree that
Leave it in?
it is not it's a need in the sense that we're seeing the community ask for it time and time again. And if we're going to operate our city cemetery, this is where the current inventory, and even when we talk to the cemetery design people, they actually operate and run cemeteries also. They don't just design them. So they said this is where the trend is. As stated, we used to see 20%, 25% cremations 15 years ago, and now it's over half. So
Yeah, I'm witnessing that in my own private business as well. And just in the last 2 years, it's unbelievable how much has changed. All right. Sounds like that one's unanimous. For now, we'll leave that in. Let's see, Franklin Street Lift Station number 14.
this is actually going to be funded utilizing a clean water loan, so it will not have any bonding impact. We are working on, Sabrina and Kevin have been working diligently on getting that clean water loan in. The good thing about that is it is less than market rate interest, so it was a project that we identified that could be funded utilizing that component, and I think it's going to work out very good. So I would request that we'd leave it in and utilize the clean water fund for that.
Is there anyone opposed to that? All right. Move on to number 15, the water main connection at Abbey Road Apartments to Bethany Lutheran Homes et al. All right, go ahead.
This is a connection that the Bethany Lutheran Homes on Mason Street is looking at expanding Eagle Crest. And we're going to require them to connect into the water main from First Free Church. But then we are also going to connect the water main down to the Abbey Road Apartments. This would increase fire protection. It would increase connectivity. If one of the pieces goes down, we could shut off portions instead of, there's a lot of dead ends out there right now. And we want to put this water main connection in while they're doing the work. So this is one, really the water utility. It's going to make our water utility more robust in a kind of a critical area. And I think it really should stay in.
When are they doing the work?
The Bethany Lutheran Homes just got their PUD approved at Plan Commission. So they are planning on breaking ground in spring and having it done in a year. So we have to do it while they're constructing it. So this is a time of the essence project.
Okay. Is there anyone who has a differing view? All right. 1 second. Okay, item number 16. Sand Lake Road Area Infrastructure Improvements, Ryder Club Road et al. So, go ahead.
16 is the TID number 6 projects. We are, as you know, the traditional trades, fields development is progressing. These projects are in relation to that development, so they do not have any borrowing impact. They would be utilizing TID dollars as they would come in. We should be starting to realize by September of next year, TID dollars coming in. So I'd like to leave these in here. These would have to come through for council approval to get approved for utilizing the funds from the TID. But I think we're going to start seeing TID dollars coming in where we can start some of these designs and these projects. And the beauty of having the designs for these projects is the fact that we can then have a better estimate on what the costs are for future capital projects.
So again, that would be 16A through F, of which none have any needed borrowing.
Correct.
Is there anyone who has a differing view about keeping them in? All right. Next is item 17, street paving SS from 12th Avenue to Crossing Meadows, 0.3 miles, but it has a Pacer of 6, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah, so just this street, if everyone travels it, it is a higher Pacer rating. The reason we put it in is because at some point it's going to need some maintenance done to it. Maybe not, this was for a full pavement replacement, but it is going to need some maintenance, a little heavier maintenance than just getting a chip seal. Part of the part that scares me down here is the fact that we've got all the truck traffic going in and out of the across industrial parks. You've got the concrete trucks from the concrete plant. You got all the quick trip, not all the quick trip trucks, because some go out to Oak Avenue. Majority of the quick trip trucks, there's just a lot of heavy traffic that when that street starts going, it's gonna go in a hurry. But I think that would definitely, with the budget constraints, gonna have to wait a year.
Anyone have a differing view? All right. Next is number 18, street sweeper.
As stated in your materials, this is a 2005 sweeper. It is still in good condition, does run good. We do have 2 street sweepers. But as we near 20 years of age, typically a street sweeper does not last that long. We've been fortunate having 2 street sweepers, so we run them at different times for different uses. So if I had to prioritize between the equipment, the first 2 that we left in would be my higher priority than this piece of equipment.
Yeah, so I'd recommend we strike it. Is there anyone who has a differing view? All right. Number 19, street paving, 16th Avenue, South Kingswood Lane et al. That's a 1 mile project, so that's a good bang for the buck.
So yeah, this is phaser is about 3. It is a larger project, paving project. This would be a big enough project that we could bid out and have some economies of scale here. The streets, like I said, were paved between 74 and 76. They are holding up relatively well for a phaser rating of 3. There's neighborhood traffic. There's not any large scale. There's no truck traffic or anything. Not a lot of high traffic volumes, but just trying to keep up. It's a 50-year-old street. It's, we're very fortunate here that we get 50 years out of a city street. If you go to a lot of communities, you would not see a 50-year-old street that was in that condition and still be there. So it's just a testament to our soil conditions here and the maintenance that's been done over the years. But I think this one's ready to go. I think this one, I'd like to leave it in and see what happens with the rest of the projects, but I think this would be a good, typically we try and do 2 miles a year, give or take. If you use simple math to get 45 years out of the street, we have 90 miles of streets, should be doing 2 a year. So this would continue us on that path.
Yeah, I have that recommended to stay in myself. Actually have that as my priority 9. Is there anyone who would like to remove it?
Well, and I know if we have a concern about, we have more of a concern about the 5s and 6s, right? But still, it would be good to, I like to also leave it in for now.
Agreed.
We've been falling behind on how much
Yeah.
mileage of streets we've been paving for the last 2 years. So this is a good big project. So.
Yeah.
All right. Number 20, North Kinney Cooley Sanitary Lift Station.
This would take over a private lift station that's currently on North Kinney. There's impending development that is looking at coming in. I would say that this project cannot stay in to get funded. I would like to possibly move it over to less other sources and put TID on it. And if we can get the TID to work out, it would at least be labeled as a project in our capital improvement budget. But if the TID falls through, then we wouldn't have the funding and it just wouldn't move forward. Rick was in, Administrator Niemeyer was in a meeting today with us with looking at the TID. So I think it is a possibility moving forward, but I don't know if it'll move forward for sure.
Okay.
Are you okay?
I.
Agreeing to move it over to other sources, putting TID on it?
I will do
I had
that.
that on my chart as recommended and removed. Diane?
Thank you, Chair. So Jared, are you recommending that we just kind of draw an arrow for the 650 and kind of put it under less amount other sources?
That is correct. And it would be
If
TID,
possible.
TID funded.
Right. So we're just kind of leaving it in.
It's a maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, yeah, let's figure out how to do that with a motion at the end of the day. So, 20 is. All right, I got it. All right.
You want to make a motion right now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Uh,
so I don't lose-
Go ahead, Jared.
I'll make a motion that we take item number 20 for 650,000 for the North Kinney Cooley Sanitary Lift Station to move it to less other sources with the possible TID funding.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay. Motion to move item number 20 to other funding, possibly TID. Seconded by Alder Wolf. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So just to be clear again, when we formulate our motion at the end of the day for all those that we've agreed are going to move on to round 2 next month, that will not be part of it because it's a standalone. Okay, all right. Item number 21, East Main Street drainage improvements.
This is another newer project, but we, during the heavy rains a few years ago, the intersection at East Main Street and Grandview Boulevard did flood to the point that we did have cars that did not make it through that intersection. It does flood enough, and that's the only route, one of the only routes for emergency equipment to get out to the Theater Road Commercial District. So it will be a priority at some point, but I think that's one that could probably wait a year.
Anyone have a differing view? All right. Item number 22, mid-size single axle flatbed truck with landscape dump box. Jared,
Casualty of budget constraints.
anyone with a differing view? All right. Item number 23, the water main crossing. Jared,
This one is to get the water main from the Grandview Estates development over to the Nikolai property, which is by the La Crosse County landfill, which is next to the FedEx, new FedEx facility. I really feel this needs to stay in to facilitate the development at the Nikolai property. This gets the high pressure water main from our booster station at Crestwood Lane over to this area, and it's the only way we can serve water. So this can't be developed unless that water main connection is put in.
Diane,
Thank you, Chair. So Jared, is the Nikolai development, is this the one that they've consistently asked year after year? Oh, no, I think that's the other.
And this is the cornfield right next to the FedEx property. They've got speculative that development that's happening. We've had a couple meetings with their engineer, and I truly believe it's going to happen in 2024 construction for probably something going in and opening in 25.
Okay, thank you.
and I know I had this as my 13th priority and it was above the line for me. It's kind of nice for a development to have water. So just my own view. Is there anyone who has a differing view? All right, so that one stays. Number 24 is a South 16 off-street path, PH to South Kinney.
This is a carryover project, so there is no budgetary impact. So I'd like to leave it in just to show, but this is another one that if we move forward with this in 2025, we would be asking for funding to complete this last link in the path system along 16.
Is there anyone who?
I just want a quick comment with that path. I have had maybe a handful of citizens, 4 to 5, comment to me about having that final link in the path. I think it's really important to our community. And although there's no budgetary impact this year, I do think we should keep it on our minds as something to prioritize next year, because the public really does appreciate that. And it also supports multimodal transportation in our community, which I'm an advocate for.
Anyone have a differing view of not, of trying to strike it? Okay. Moving on to item number 25, and this puts, let's see, puts us into planning. Number 25 is urban forestry.
I'm gonna take the next few here. The 25 and 26 are urban forestry. 25 is our general urban forestry. This is mainly utilized to fund tree planting in city boulevards. We take citizen requests. It's a popular program. It's a good thing for our city. You know, there's multiple reasons for doing urban forestry. Helps with runoff, helps with heat, helps with a variety of things. So I think these should stay in for now, 25 and 26 until we get to the point of looking at it. 26, that would be our match for, we're hoping to get a urban forestry grant, so we'd be paying half for the planting zone.
I agree.
I
Oh,
would agree too.
Right. Anyone have a differing view? Okay, so 25 and 26 will move forward to next month for now. 27,
This one has been one that the mayor actually brought forward a few years ago, and it's kind of been carried on through the budget. I guess, I don't know, Mayor, if you had a few words you wanted to offer.
Sure, yes, this is definitely something that our surrounding communities have done as a way to measure their progress towards becoming more energy efficient. And I think that even though we haven't went ahead and done this study, so we don't have good numbers, I do think that we are conservation minded as a community, and we're doing a good job trying to capture those energy costs where we can. And if we don't have this year, I think it's okay, but at some point we should have a greenhouse gas inventory done and a renewable energy plan, but definitely it can wait, no problem.
Dan,
Thank you, Chair. So Mayor Kim or staff, are we looking at the possibility of contracting with an outside source to perform this, or what would it entail?
Yeah, usually you hire a consultant that evaluates what your energy use is, so that you have documentation, and then you can comparatively from year to year, you can see the trending and the change that you're making. It also potentially gives you data that could increase your eligibility for grants for continued movement toward a more energy efficient community.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
is there one, so the mayor's recommending that we can delay it at least one more year. Is there anyone who would argue otherwise? All right, we're moving on to the,
Could we leave it in for 1 month and we can just maybe kind of chew on it? And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just thinking that when do we start looking to possibly be more energy efficient? If not now, when? So I'm just asking, maybe just.
I have no problem leaving it
One more
in,
month.
but we can leave it in for one more month. But the issue, I mean, so I would support that unless somebody, I mean, if it has to go to vote, we can, if there are 3 people who are adamantly against it for one more month. But I just want to say, I think that the staff is looking at energy efficiency all the time. This would just be another tool.
And I think too, maybe it'll give, it may be either it's the me or staff or those of us who maybe have more interest in it, maybe can talk further about it before, you know, give us a month to be a little bit more educated on it and what it would involve. And at the end of the day, I mean, $30,000 isn't a whole lot of money compared to this $12 million ask, but it's still $30,000. And we all know that it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I think we just all need to be a little bit more better educated so we could make a better decision. So that's why I would ask for it to stay in for 1 more month.
Okay. Anyone adamantly opposed to leaving it in for 1 more month? Discuss again next month. All right.
Thank you.
Next is the fire department, starting with number 28, the rescue unit.
Yes. Thank you. So this would be to replace our 2005 rescue unit. Our rescue unit is mainly going on EMS calls and racks up the most mileage, certainly in our fleet. Apparently the 2005 Rescue 2 has had several engine issues, including turbo rebuilds and several other issues as well. We're also starting to see some corrosion. I believe in my memo, I put on there that if we ordered the vehicle today, we would see it in late 24, early 25. I've been corrected on that. It's about a 24-month lead time. So with the increase in EMS calls and everything else and out in the township, we're putting more and more miles on these rigs. So we're looking at hopefully getting this replaced and leaving it in there. This is one of my priorities that I saw in the CIP.
So what you're hearing is it'll be 20 years old when it's replaced if we order it with this next fiscal year.
That'd be correct, yes.
Okay, yeah. I had that as my number 6 priority. I want to keep that. I'm again open to altering views, of course. That falls under the public safety piece. Is there anyone who thinks that we need to strike that?
I think we've gotten our use out of that vehicle. It's got it's I know as chief has stated and talking to our mechanic, it's had issues over the years too. So you know, and we're just racking up more miles on Rescue 1. That's also 10 years old. I think it's 10.
Rescue. Rescue 2 is currently 18 years old. Our current Rescue 1,
I want to say it's close to 10,
2015 it was built,
2018,
2015.
2015. So by the time we get the new one, it's going to be over at least 10 years old. And
Okay, well, sounds like we're unanimous on keeping that. Item number 29, before I even turn it over to the chief, I'm gonna get on my soapbox on this one. Communications for first responders is everything. And if they can't talk, it puts lives at risk, including their own. So this will come up again with Chief Ashbeck too, because he's got some radios on there. So me personally, that is my number 4 priority out of the that I had on mine. My view is they have to have these radio replacements. Is there anyone who?
the good thing too, this we had this listed as year 3 of 4. This would make it year 4 of 4. This would complete the radio program for the replacement in the fire department with the action you took tonight.
Chief, you can go ahead and add to that if you would like.
Sabrina.
Yeah, our current radios are really, really old. They don't even make batteries for them anymore. We have to buy aftermarket batteries. And again, this is a project that's already been in place for a few years now, and this would complete the project. So I would agree with everything said.
Sabrina.
Thank you, Chair. I was just gonna add, similar to what Jared said, this would change this to being year 4 of 4, so the project would be complete.
Right.
I'm also very much in support of it, and I give major props to Chief Letty for taking a look at kind of the current year priorities and moving dollars so we can get this pushed through. So I think it's
I just want to clarify too. So the initial capital improvements budget that came out before the change that we just voted on. So the additional, there's an additional cost in here for item number 29 from the initial capital improvements budgets. That's in order to finish the project.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Is there anyone who wants to argue that we should either strike it or get less radios? All right, we keep that one as well. Item number 30 is the land and facilities. This is the proposal to purchase more land for a future fire station.
Yeah, so I don't have a whole lot of information on this one. Priority number 1 and number 2 for me were the rescue unit and the portable radio. You know, as a fire chief, we always look at response times, and they're extended heading out that way, and we certainly need the land. Do we need it today? I'm not so sure of that. It's we got $600,000 in there. I would tell you, yes, we do need a second fire station just due to response times, but does it fit in this year? I'm not so sure.
I'm personally, I had that striking it. Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to, number 1, be an advocate. I think we're not necessarily for this year, but I think everyone needs to keep in mind that this is something that needs to happen in our future. Especially if our partnership with the town of Onalaska is going to turn into a long-term situation. I don't think we're quite there where we need to have it in the budget for this year. But I think over the next year and a half, we need to be developing that strategic plan for where we are going to place that second station, because it is something that I do think that we're going to need in order to continue to provide a good level of service to our community. And I think that would have happened even without the town of Onalaska contract, but that has accelerated our need to be able to more effectively deploy our resources in an emergency. So I'm okay with removing it for this year. But keep in mind, we will be bringing it back in attachment to a strategic plan for the future of our fire department.
Yeah, Mayor, you had the right words with strategic planning in there. So my concern on it is I want to see the entire project. I understand that we wouldn't do it all at once. You could buy land, but I want to see what is the plan for not only where would we put it, but what would the building look like and how much would the approximate cost of that be? What more equipment would we need and what's the approximate cost of that? How many more personnel would we need for firefighters and what's the approximate cost of that? I mean, it's not just land. There's a lot involved in this that I'd really like to see it as one whole strategic planning project. Chief.
We could certainly do a facilities study and put some money in the budget for next year for that. And they'll spell all that out for us and could come up with a solid plan.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Sounds like that's struck for now. Okay. All right, item number 31, that's actually separate bonding issue. I might actually turn this over to Sabrina. I mean, this is not something that we would vote with this capital improvements project, right? I mean, aren't we going to do a separate bond for it?
We would vote for it with this project. I would keep it with the CIP. But what would happen is when I contact our representative from Bayard, Brad Vergoot, he would essentially run it. We could run it together, run it separate, because likely it's going to take a while before we would need that $2 million. So he might do like a bond anticipation note, things of that nature. So I would keep it
Okay,
part of this bonding, and that with the intent that Brad would work his magic in the background and let us know what it looks like.
but we wouldn't have it as the part of the final tally, if you will, on the dollars that we're planning on borrowing, because this would be a separate, I mean, I understand we'll have to borrow the money, but it's almost like a separate line item, isn't it?
I would more count it as a special project that's included in, but it's above the number. So it's a special project that we're raising our what we would normally have as a goal for our amount bonded. It's still part of it, but it's going to,
Okay.
it's not part of the base number, if you will. I think that's maybe a right term there.
Okay, I know how I'll word it with my with the final.
So I believe it's in the intent that we would keep that, correct? I believe. with the council.
Is there anyone who wanted to remove it after we already voted that we want to go down this path? Okay. All right, item number 32, playground replacements. Obviously, Dan, I'd like to hear from you on this, both Holiday Heights and Park Ridge. I know I had this fairly high on my priorities just for everyone's edification. Dan's going to talk to us too, but we all know that we've got an issue on this. We had all these parks that were purchased all at one time and they're all coming due all at one time, and we need to move forward or we're going to have a problem. Dan, go ahead.
Correct. Yeah, this is just part of our playground replacement plan that we are, implemented a couple of years ago that we're trying to bring forward. So Holiday Heights and Park Ridge are both playgrounds that see a good amount of use. The equipment is tired and looking at trying to do something. Holiday Heights is the playground that we've had issues with a ton of water. So we've been talking to some different consultants and things, trying to do something different, more of a natural landscape in this area. We've heard from a lot of the neighbors and things that desperately want to keep something there. This neighborhood is kind of disconnected from the rest of the city. It's not as easy for them to jump on a bike or to go. They would have to drive to get to a different area. So these two are projects that we have as part of our plan looking to move forward. I will tell the board, the list that you see for both the parks, the Omni, City Hall and Library, all have been prioritized by the park board and looked at. So this is in the order that the park board has put them. You know, I can address each and every one of them, but you know, when you look at this list, this is what the recommendation from the park board that we brought forward and gave to Jared.
Well, in I guess the consideration of time constraints here, where would your gut say you're willing to voluntarily say we can delay the following projects? Because obviously, you know, we're going to have to delay some.
I mean, I think right now 36, 37 are two that would go. 35 is a very small project. These are a few shelters, you know, that need new roof replacement. I would hate to see these continue off unless somebody can see in their crystal ball, we have a hailstorm coming in the next year. The Van Riper volleyball court remodel. So this is getting a ton of use. We actually have groups renting this 4 nights a week from us right now. What we would do here is come in and actually add lights to that location to add more use that could be there. This, we also are taking some funding from the park fund with some of the remodel that we would like to do. This is something that we've had people come to us looking for us to do. The Park Ridge tennis courts, this is part of just our resurfacing plan that needs to come back. We do have Onalaska Luther High School that uses these courts for a practice location. As in the information I provided to the park board, this one does have some substantial cracking through the playing surface that would need to be looked at. This is also an alternative site that pickleball is played at.
So I heard you saying 36, 37 can delay. Were you saying you can delay 35 or?
I would prefer not to, but again, it's a bottom item coming up that we would have to, you know, I would refer back to what the park board, how the park board prioritized it. And, you know, if push needs to come, that's where we would go with their recommendation.
So let's go through as our committee then. So we're on 32A and B. Is there anyone who thinks we should remove those?
No.
Item number 33, is there anyone who thinks we should not resurface the tennis courts this year? I mean, obviously, we want to do all of these things. All right. Item number 34 on the Van Riper volleyball court remodel. I think we can delay that. We can do the 1 tennis courts and then the 2 new, and I'm thinking maybe delaying the Van Riper. Is there anyone who wants to argue that we should keep the 50K in for now?
I think we should keep it in for now.
I agree.
Okay, all right. So 34.
And I will argue for 35. We
There-
need a maintenance. We need to do the maintenance.
Sabrina,
Those are small dollars anyway. I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
Er-
let's just keep them in. That's such small, yeah.
for 35, can we use equipment replacement fund?
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we're not bonding for that kind, small amount, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I believe for item 35, we could defer that to equipment replacement.
All right, let's have a standalone motion on that again, so it
Okay.
keeps it clean. So I'll move that we recommend approval of 35A and B, the Elmwood gazebo and the Van Riper #2 shelter. Total cost for the 2 are $17,500, and that get moved to the equipment replacement fund.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. So again, when I go through the final motion on what we're recommending move forward to next month, that will not be on there. Okay, because it's already been a single line item approval for equipment replacement. All right, next is number 36 and 37. It sounds like the recommendation is that would be one where we can delay.
Yep.
Is there anyone who wants to argue otherwise? All right, moving on. Police Department, number 38, marked police vehicles. Chief.
Good evening. Yes, thank you. This is our, pretty typical request every year, as I've explained in past years, the importance of maintaining our squad cars. This, looks like a high amount, but this does include the 3 that were approved for last year that were canceled by Ford. And so that ARPA money still is there, or majority of it is there, but due to the increased cost of squads, we do need to supplement some additional funds to pay for those 3 originally approved. And so then the 3 additional on top of that are continuing with our, replacement cycle of vehicles to replace those upcoming vehicles. So that's why it looks like an extraordinarily high number.
Okay.
And then our unmarked vehicle, that actually, we had to auction that vehicle off, that original unmarked vehicle, because of some high cost engine problems with that vehicle. And so it wasn't cost effective to fix it. So we've been running with a vehicle that we originally were going to auction off. We've kind of hobbled that together as an unmarked vehicle and been using that in the time being. So we're trying to replace that.
Let's tackle those first 2 for now, Chief. We'll get back to you. So the item number 38, again, I had that high priority. That's public safety again. That's my number 7 overall. But we have options on this. We can approve to move forward all 6. We can approve to move forward a lesser number, or we can decide to strike them all. Myself, in order to pay for some of these other items right now, I'm kind of recommending we approve 4, which I know puts us 2 behind, because that's 3 from last year, and then that would be 1 from this year for a total of 4 of 6. Yeah, Jared,
We tried this about 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
did it work?
We went 1 year and did not purchase any cars. The next year we ordered 1. And we only have 1 city mechanic, and the police department in their operating budget can't afford to send it to the Ford dealership. Just as a note, I don't remember what the repair was. I think it was a water pump. The water pump is warranted for 100,000 miles on those squad cars. We've replaced a few at 80 and 90,000, but we sent it to the dealership to get done. Our city mechanic just replaced one because the car had 110,000 on it. So the vehicles, the repairs exponentially go up, and those vehicles, it's just, can you float one? You could probably float one, but if you start getting any more than 1, and then if you don't get back on the plan the next year, it just gets to be very difficult. And for whatever reason, Ford right now doesn't want to make police cars. It's just one of them anomalies that it's very difficult, and the police chief really needs the resources to order them when he has the chance, because I can't see any end in sight. I know he's been talking to the dealership pretty consistently, trying to find one. They're going out of state to purchase one for the K9 unit. They're going to South Dakota to get one. Probably not exactly what they want, but they don't have a choice. So I really hate taking out vehicles and it being, from a public works standpoint of city mechanic, they're labor intensive, just what it is.
Well, this is where the longevity and the historical input of the staff come into play. So us elected officials don't have that history quite often. Yes, Chief.
One other thing that I did think of, and maybe we'll need to take some time after between meetings here, but this number may have included that K9 vehicle that we had fundraised for. So theoretically, we may be able to reduce that down 1, but some of that funding may be listed in the less amount other sources. So I don't want to make it sound like, hey, we can remove one and save a bunch of money. But since we are purchasing that squad now, that might be
I
something.
think I did ask that question when I was putting the budget together and asked, is this really 6 vehicles, 7 vehicles, or 8? And we went through it, and I think the K9 vehicle is separate, but we'll confirm that before the next meeting.
All right. So well then,
I have a comment.
oh, go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, sorry. It's just kind of hard when you're remote to know when it's your turn to talk. I was looking for a place to raise my hand, but I couldn't find it. I'm adamant that we keep these this police vehicle line item number 38 intact. As Jared said, I'll echo that. We got off on this part of the reason, like, it seems like it's a lot, but the reason it seems like it's a lot is because we didn't get all the vehicles we needed in the last round. So we need to stay on this. We need to get these vehicles, and if everything else has to get cut out of the police budget, we still need these cars. So I need these in here.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Sabrina?
I'll just echo what everyone has said. I think we do need to purchase these vehicles. I would just also add that they will be short-term borrowing. So what we could do is, depending on what all we have for short-term borrowing, if it is just police items, we could, again, working with Brad Vagut, we could hold off on borrowing for those till later on, until we get closer to a point where we can actually like purchase them. So maybe interest rates will drop by then. We'll see, but that was for sure will be a short-term borrowing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement too. I mean, when I heard the history of, that not working, there's no reason to repeat errors from the past. Diane?
Thank you, Chair. So Chief Ashbeck, I'm assuming that you're under the Police Department items 38 through 43. Yours also are listed in the order of your preference of being fulfilled.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I support 38. We need to stay with the program. I was here when we went ahead and tried that for offshoot for 1 year, and both then Alder Smith and I both said, well, we're never doing that again. So it did not work.
And Jared said it too, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, item number 39 that was already discussed too. Also believe we need to get that. They need an unmarked vehicle. Does anyone feel otherwise? All right. So we're moving on to item number 40, which is a utility vehicle. It's coming over to us from 2022. I mean, Chief, is there anything really that you need to add? So, I mean, we've got the, your write-up, so.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is, as a reminder that a citizen did donate $9,000 towards this project in the beginning of this year. I anticipate that we could, I haven't had a chance to speak with Sabrina, but there are some possible other funding sources. We are selling a squad car this year. There was some grant money. We might be able to allocate and purchase this outside of capital improvement, if we wanted to. So I just caution on continuing to push this project off when a citizen has donated. We do have a need. In speaking with the fire chief, it's kind of a joint venture.
Well, what other sources would we be able to use to finish paying for that?
Are we talking about item 40 right now?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, we are.
I was looking at some CivMix safety grant money that we're due to get in this year. There's $7,000 we're gonna be receiving. And then again, the sale of, I think we had 2 squad cars this year. One we already sold this year, and then one we are selling at an upcoming auction, that we could use those funds to put towards this instead.
Yes, Diane.
Thank you, Chair. Sabrina, we don't set aside, if a department sells items and such, I thought that was not the protocol that we are following, that they go back to the general fund, or which they are not set aside. Departments are not allowed to do that.
That is correct, unless they get it approved by the council.
Okay,
So last year, we had a couple of situations where we did designate some funds because of, for example, Park and Rec, they had a vehicle that they were purchasing and it just wasn't going to arrive in 2023 or 2022. So we did designate some funds for 2023. So those requests do come in where we could do that as if council approves it.
thank you.
Mhm.
I would just follow up. I would agree, Dan. That's why I'm just bringing it up as an idea that if to save on the overall here, if that's something that I brought forward in a different setting. We,
Cause I had it as one of mine below the line that might get delayed, but I mean, if we can find other funding sources for it, that's a whole nother matter. I don't know. Does anyone think we should just move it forward until next month and see what? Yeah, Diane.
I'll be honest, I did not support it in 22. I did not support it for 23, and I'm hesitant to support it for 24. I know I've talked with some staff in this past year. And I understand, the uses that you're looking for it for chief. When you talk about like maybe special events and such, I've talked with some departments. My understanding is that there are some smaller vehicles, pickups that could also facilitate moving items and such. For me, when we talk about later on your memo, you talk about storage and how we're short on space, and everyone is short on space. To me, it's another vehicle. If it's 4 wheels, it's something more to maintenance, more gas we have to put in, and we have to store it. So at the end of the day, I'm for maintaining what we currently have instead of expanding more items. So now if you were to go ahead and find another funding source, I could maybe be a little bit more open-minded, but I'm just not at this point. I'm just one voice of 5 up here, but I at this time, I'd leave it in for right now. I'd be fine with that, but it would have to be another funding source that I'm just not looking to support it this time. Thank you.
Well, if that's the case, yeah, Jared. go
I would just say this would replace your existing 4-wheeler, right?
correct.
Yeah. They do have a 4-wheeler right now that is
Okay.
near almost as long as I have.
2002, I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Now,
it would replace a vehicle,
It
but
wouldn't be huge money, but I assume you could sell that? The old one?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, if it's that old, you're not gonna be, getting $25,000 for it. I wish. Got it. All right, well, I mean, unless somebody's saying that. Mayor, what do you think?
I think that I could argue it either way, so let's leave it in for now, and then when we see where we're at, I can already see we're gonna have to come back through and cut some things, but I think we can leave it in for now. And then maybe in that meantime month, the chief will have time to explore other funding sources.
Okay. All right, yeah, Chief, if you could look at other sources too. I mean, you can see that one's kind of on the fence right now, so. But we'll leave it in for now. Is that good? And we'll discuss it more next month. Okay. All right, number 41, and again, I'm gonna steal your thunder, Chief, just like I did with the fire. The portable radio replacements, and once again, if they can't talk, lives are at risk, including their own. To me, this was a must fund. I had it as my number 5 priority overall. Anything you want to add?
No?
Okay, Diane.
Well, now you have a chance to add, if you would, please. So are you like on some type of a yearly replacement plan just to keep, or what's behind this? You could just expound a little bit, please.
Sure. So when I got here, evaluating our radios, we realized similar to the fire department, they were quite old. So I had, come to capital improvements, and you had funded over 2 years funding for radios. And there were 2 radios in there that had a little bit of life left in them, so I did not replace them at those times. And so that's what I'm trying to replace, is those 2 oldest radios now to get them in line with our current models.
Okay, thank you. And as a follow-up, Sabrina, is this something that could go under equipment replacements? This is just the $5,400? Or more?
Yes, it most definitely could.
Okay,
Otherwise, we'd have to short-term borrow for it. And I wouldn't recommend that.
and what?
So,
And I wouldn't recommend that we would short-term borrow for 5,400.
so in order to stay with what we're doing right now and to keep this clean, then
Mhm.
why don't we, I'll make a motion that we approve the portable radio replacement item number 41 to the tune of $5,400 by using the equipment replacement fund.
I will second that.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
And, all right, so that motion passes. 1 minute, I gotta update my notes here to keep a. So that's going to be. Number 41. Okay, all right, item number 42, the VR video de-escalation training system. It's a carryover from last year. It's a high dollar item. What do you think, chief?
Yeah, this is just like everybody has important projects in here, but budgets are tight. And so I do see a lot of value for this for our staff, but I think that given everything else, we can delay it for another year.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone? Yeah, Jared.
I would agree with the chief's sentiment, but it's one of the ones where I think if you talk to our legal counsel, it's probably the biggest liability one of the biggest liabilities we would have is if something goes wrong in one of those situations. So it would probably be at some point I see merit to it, but I do agree with the chief. It's hard with all the projects we have in here.
Anyone want to argue that we should keep it? All right. Then item number 43, which is a very high dollar item, police department storage. Chief, what do you think?
Well, there again, I realize, that the chance of this going through is pretty slim, but it's really a conversation starter, like a lot of things that, storage is extremely tight around here, and we feel a high value of a joint venture with Park and Rec at the Omni Center there, that they're in desperate need of storage. This seems to be the most cost-effective way to add storage. An idea I think Amanda did have is about looking at existing storage facilities and if there's something we can purchase. So, I'm certainly open to all ideas. But there's a lot of merit to having it on city-owned land and under our control, being that this is a combination of, police evidence being stored in there along with police equipment. And so something that we can control, we can have security cameras, whatnot, instead of a building that's on a commercial property of other people entering. There's some concerns there, but again, I'm open to ideas. I realize this,
Well, it's,
probably will need to get pushed off, but we need to continue this discussion, and because
well, it's a new item on your list but it is important to get it down there. I agree. And then as time goes along, we can start prioritizing it over the years. So, yeah. Okay. Is there anyone who argues that we should keep it on for now? All right.
So Chair, we've been at it for about an hour, 40 minutes, wondering if Chair would entertain just a quick 5-minute break.
Oh, sure. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
We have a 5-minute break. We'll call it, we'll give it a 6-minute break. We'll go until 8:15.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're moving along pretty good. Oh, I've got. Make sure to get to the right time. I always do a walkabout, talk with the guys that were there when I was there, and I went to the fire department, who actually has the least turnover out of anyone else on post, so there's a lot of guys there. Yeah. They got it. But it's also a nice capabilities. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Problem, no problem. Headlines says it all. Yeah, electric vehicles are answering. This America, the answer. I was behind.
Oh, I'm not gonna sit down yet. I have to. Okay. event.
Yes. So, but talk right here on these two days. The same two. Yes, yes, yeah.
That's just. We're gonna kind of take things. Yeah, like overnight.
Oh, they're both down in the neck. Both have their own little section. Yeah.
That's better.
Thank you.
Brewers just tied at 4-4. Thank goodness. Come on. Yeah, yes, we're playing the wild card team right now. We're playing the wild card team tonight, Arizona. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean.
When you're not in the meeting, you know.
All
just like-
right. So I have not quite 8:16. Let's go ahead and Folks, if we can get together going again. So yeah, it's now it's 8:16. Let's go ahead and go back to business. We're on the Omni Center. I do have a request and you'll see why I'm doing this. It'll have to be with other, funding other means ultimately. Brian and Dan, if we could take 44, 45, and 48 first. We'll get back to 46 and 47. I think you'll probably see what's going through my
Yeah.
mind already.
So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll kind of tag team these through Brian and I, and Justin is also here for questions. Again, these items are prioritized by the park board. 44 is event equipment. We have identified a number of things as we are hosting events that we either need to try to find other people we can get stuff from, rent them from different events, so that we're looking to try to purchase these items so that we have them for the amount of events that we run in the building. I will jump down to 48 stage. Our stage is old, it's tired, it's been used. And we have been working with a few different vendors on bringing in some different stages that we've looked at and things. I think it would really, one person could actually take this stage up and down, rather than now it takes at least 2 or more people to set the stage. So it would set us up in a better situation. I'll let Brian address item 45.
So 45 is the lighting in the banquet rooms right now. The control panels for our lighting in the back arena that was done now 14 years ago. The panels that they installed at that time are going out on us, and now we're putting in the old just the switches in most of our rooms, along with motion sensors. But we haven't been able to do that in the banquet rooms. So right now they're either on or they're off, and we can't do any special lighting or turning off lines for when they have the special meetings. And I know Gunderson Lutheran had a big meeting up there last spring. And that was one of their concerns, was the lighting was just not right for what they were doing. When they're trying to show video and use the screen, it was always kind of off. So for us to be able to go to the next level, we need to do something different with our lighting. And I think those constraints were done by the fact that our panels just weren't allowing us to do any of that manipulating of the lights as we had been able to do in the past.
So I'm going to recommend that we approve these as separate line items based upon, it's my understanding, we can use tourism dollars for this, and that we have more than enough and we still have plenty left in the coffers afterwards. And these 3 line items, the reason I kind of lumped them together, all 3 of them, in addition to being able to tap into tourism dollars, unless Sabrina's going to correct me here, is that they are all directly related to revenue generating capability at Omni. And that's why I pulled them out as one group. Sabrina, am I incorrect, or is that something you would recommend against using the tourism dollars?
No, you are correct. We did have a really good year in 2022 for tourism, and we did add quite a bit to our fund balance. So I would feel comfortable with that. 2023 has also, so far through Q3, has been a good year. So I would feel comfortable with that.
Brian.
The one thing that I would add is, especially in a line item 44 and 48, those items, when someone has an event at the building, we actually can charge them people for those items. So besides the fact that they're money-making items for the Omni Center itself, whether they're lighting or power, power drops, are some of the things we have in item number 44. In our stage, we only use the stage when people need it and want to rent it. And so those are times when we actually get revenue from that also.
Well, we're in competition for those revenue dollars. There's other facilities in the area, so we do have to have
Absolutely.
very competitive resources available to folks when they rent. Is there anyone who is of differing view or thinks that we should not use tourism dollars, either one?
Which numbers are you talking about, Stephen?
It's 44, 45, and 48. Mayor?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think we should go ahead as you suggested.
I will make a motion that we approve item number 44, event equipment for $39,500. Number 45, banquet room lighting for $25,000. And item number 48, stage for $60,000. That's a total of 119.5K. And that we would use other means, specifically tourism dollars.
Second.
Any discussion?
Isn't that 124,000?
Possible.
Okay,
So-
you just included that total in your motion, so I just wanted to.
Okay,
correct
let
it
me
for
see.
the
So
record.
60, what did I do wrong? 39. Yeah. Did you run a calculator on it? Okay, so what is, the new- what is,
Sabrina
the-
is best.
what is the correct
spoken.
number?
124,500.
All right, so I will update that motion. The total, the grand total is 124,500.
And I'll update my second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Thank you, Sabrina.
You're welcome.
Actually, I should notate that. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. So again, just to be clear, when we go through the final numbers at the end of the night, I will not be including those line items because we have them off separately on a, not under borrowing. All right, item number 46, parking lot maintenance. Obviously, parking lots crumble, so yeah, Brian.
The parking lot here at the library, I try to do on a 2-year, 3-year cycle at the most. I think in my 11 years I've been here, we've done it one time. We tried to stretch it as much as we can. This year we bought some paint just to do the lines. But I think if we don't at some point reseal that parking lot, we're gonna have ourselves in some trouble with that parking lot going away on us.
Well, this is the third year it's come up to, and it's been
Yeah.
delayed
And
twice.
I put it off the first couple years, just like we had other needs that were in our minds were more important. So
Did have this on my list of recommended that fell just barely above my line, actually, but yes.
Is that item 46, right, for the Omni, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anyone who thinks we should not move that forward to next month?
No.
All right.
I would, if I could, Chair, just add that I think likely that would be an item that might be short-term borrowing. I'll
Oh.
confirm with Brad. But likely, I think that might be short-term. Jared and I, we make guesses and then we get told no. So that would be my guess, is that it would be, but then usually in the general fund, our pavement maintenance is able to be bond for, but since that's the Omni Center, it likely in my few years here, I think it's probably gonna go to short term,
Okay.
just so you're aware.
Yeah,
And
I-
likely with item 47 as well. I know we haven't gotten there yet, but just so you're aware.
I had not considered that that would be the case, so I'm glad you told me. Okay, so that, or let me
So
update some
will,
numbers.
so will we just leave it for now pending what you find out between now and next month then?
Yeah, I believe that it's worthy of being part of the list, and I'll just let you know if it's gonna be something that will go into the bucket of bonding or the bucket of short-term borrowing in total,
Okay, no, thank
it's
you.
our total borrowing number.
I think
but-
the mayor wants to add something too.
Okay,
I was just gonna say, can we just add 47, the water heaters to that as well at the same time?
I'm good with that.
I was gonna recommend that too. I mean, it's kind of something that's needed, so, yeah. All right, so yeah, I was not tracking that one. I had a running number of what I thought short-term borrowing would be. That wasn't part of it, so thank you for
It,
clarifying.
it seems crazy to think that a water heater would be a long-term borrowing.
No, I'm talking the lot maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we've already done 48, moving on to 49.
So 49 is a new item that we've had this year. We've had some request of looking at expansion, future planning of the Omni Center. We actually have a group into the facility that is looking at potential expansion and is willing to potentially contribute money to a future expansion to the facility. This also 49 kind of ties into item 43 that Chief Ashbeck had of looking at additional storage that we could all kind of tie in up at the facility. So my recommendation is that we do use and look at it. The potential architecture of the Omni Center and looking at future expansion.
I did not have that on my list at all, but looking at what you're explaining, it's nice to have a plan so we have a better idea of what 43 even would be, to be honest. What's the view of the rest of the board?
I'm fine with leaving it in for a month.
Yeah, okay.
Hence, I won't make a commitment for next month, but
Yeah. Mayor?
I think we should leave it in for now.
Okay. All right, where would you all draw the line?
Oh, well, I mean, where I come back to is in conversations with staff, with Brian and Justin. We believe item 51 is an item that is needed. We have, it's a storage off the side of the building. The doors are rusted out, that we need to replace that. And then the rest of the items, again, due to the budget circumstances where we would strike items 50, 52, 53, and 54.
Anyone have any concerns about any of this, including retaining 51?
So Dan, you said you wouldn't do number 50?
Correct. We would take 50 out.
And so 50, 52, 53, and 54 would be deferred. Recommendation is 51 be moved forward to next month for discussion.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. One moment. Okay. Moving on. We're going pretty good, folks, compared to historically. All right. We are on to 55, or we have the next two items are with the library.
Yep, and Brian can give you more detail on these. What we're looking at, the front entrance of the library is very cracked. Has pitting and things. So just from an accessibility standpoint coming in there, that is the request that has been put forward. And then the carpet in the meeting rooms is very stained. If you've been in there seeing that, it's looking at replacing that at the library. If you need more detail, Brian is more than willing to.
Is it a safety issue right now?
I would say the entrance is, as the amount of people coming in there and the cracks, the holes that are in the concrete and things that we have.
Well, my recommendation is we move it forward then. Sabrina,
I would also recommend that we move it forward, and that we consider using some of the library funds that we have set aside. There are some dollars left, that could probably fund both of the projects, that would kind of deplete that fund. But I'm curious the mayor's thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, my question was going to be how much money remained in the fund? And I would definitely prioritize the concrete at the entrance. And if it was possible to do the carpet replacement, and there were funds left, that would be, my position.
I think what we have to look at with those remaining funds is we did fund a number of projects last year that we're still waiting on. We're waiting for the boiler project to be completed, and we're waiting for the sign work. You know, those POs and stuff have been cut, but there is some funding taken out of that. So we would just have to meet with Sabrina before next month to give you a detail what we've spent and what may be available in that fund.
okay, so do we want to move these forward as borrowing till next month until we hear whether or not we can have enough funds in the library funds to?
Yeah, I'd like to move them forward to next month, and that by then, we'll have given staff more time to determine that.
Okay, yes, Oh, you're Sabrina.
We did have, last time I checked, around 27,984 to be exact, left in the library fund dollars. But I will get with Dan and we'll come with a concrete number in case there are some projects that went over budget from
That
what
would be
we.
my concern. Yeah, so I'd have no problem, for instance, taking risk on the first one and doing that. But yeah, if there's overages and there's no money left in that fund, then what? So. Yeah, Diane,
Thank you, Chair. So that's what I was going to confirm with Sabrina, that the balance, because when I had asked her, yeah, 27,984. So if I heard Dan Wick correctly, this 27,984, that the projects that he was referring to, those balances are taken out. So this is what remains.
That's what I have right now. So I'm not sure what is left to
But there
come
may be some
in.
overages. So we could
Correct.
use
Well,
those
I don't think there's overages, but last year when we went through this process, we wanted to use the funds that were left from the construction.
Yeah,
And so we just have to make sure all those POs and things are entered on what the cost would be. Like the boiler is en route to be put in at the Omni. So there may be some additional costs with that. Just what we have assigned to make sure that we aren't spending that money twice.
yeah, great. Thank you.
well, for now, I think the recommendation I heard is that we move both projects forward as potential borrowing to discuss next month while we look at what is the best course of action for how to fund these or whether or not we can fund both.
Agreed.
Okay, so we'll keep them in. One moment. Okay. On to City Hall. Item number 57, solar power for City Hall. Understand that there is a 60-40 split with with federal dollars. 60% would be the city, and that's why you see other sources and amount needing to be borrowed.
I think this, Jared, Kevin, Brian and I have been meeting with Apex, a company that would come in. As part of this project, the city would more than likely enter into a request for qualifications for performance contracting engineering service to kind of do this, where they kind of guarantee us portions of that. And if they don't meet it, we don't have to necessarily pay them for it. There's a number of school districts that done it. There's communities that have been successful with it also. But what I really want to call out and look at this is they put the documents together. They're showing basically day one, the savings of the electricity that we have versus our debt payment would be a net positive for the city. And as we're seeing our electric cost go, the city hall portion covers 55% of the budget. Fire and police pick up the other portions. As our budgets are getting tighter, to see that we could have some savings there, could use other places would be great for the city to have. So in looking at this, I think this project rated extremely high, especially with the 40% rebate that we have to try to move this project forward.
Yeah, so I have no problem moving it forward till next month myself. We'll hear from the other board members too. However, there's a caveat to that, and that's, I'd mentioned it to Jared just a few hours ago, actually. I would like to see, I was shocked when I heard the return on investment was going to be 13 to 20 years, is I think what it was told. I would like to see the data on that. Because that's ultimately going to decide how my one vote, I think there's only one vote, but that's how it would go next month. Because I have not heard that from solar panels before. And if we don't have a return on investment that I'm convinced of, I'm probably going to be a hard no. And there's a lot of reasons. One, I don't like not getting a return on investment before we have to replace the infrastructure. But also number two, I'll be glad to listen to the chief on his views too. But, my understanding is fire departments aren't real keen on having roof mounted anything. And that's doubly true with solar panels because unless technology has changed that I don't know about, once they're turned on, they're generating. There's no way to, hit a circuit breaker that suddenly makes them safe. So that's kind of where I'm going. I don't know, Chief, I have not talked to you about this. Is there, am I out in left field on this or?
No, you're not. There's a lot of education going on with solar panels along with lithium ion batteries. It's a lot of things we have to keep up with as far as education in the fire service, but you are correct. There is a danger to that if we were to come into contact with that, but yeah, you're exactly right.
Chief, did I see your, go up?
I just wanted to add, because I am a current solar panel owner and there is by law mandated safety switch that's clearly marked on the side of the building that cuts off that circuit. So if there's ever a response, it's clearly marked for emergency responders to pull that power.
My understanding though, and I could be wrong, technology changes as that cuts off the circuit to the interior structure. The solar cells themselves, once they're switched on, they're constantly generating energy that's my understanding.
There's micro inverters that are underneath each panel. So my belief is that would cut off
Okay.
the power to those
Okay.
micro inverters. So I think technology has changed.
No, it's very possible. Yeah, technology and cost change all the time. So, yeah, okay.
So then the next few items, Brian can get into the nuts and bolts.
Well, let's talk. Is there anyone here who does not want that to go forward? Pending more information for next month.
I know I've seen the numbers and Kevin's got the numbers in front of him and he's done a lot of research on it with the company. I think the numbers are astounding. The grant only makes it that much more beneficial to the city. And I think getting those operational funds back by putting this project in would be just a great effort for trying to help with tight budgets.
Sabrina.
I would agree with that as well. Seeing how our operating costs could go down, that just frees up dollars for other things within our operating budget.
Well, again, operating costs going down is one thing. The question is, are they going to go down enough to where it pays for itself before it has to be replaced? That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
But you all are saying yes, so I'm inclined to believe you. I just, trust but verify. So, all right, Mayor, did you want to say anything on 57?
I was going to say that I am pro solar. I support this item.
Okay. All right. Sounds like we're in agreement to move it forward till next month. Number 58, building.
So these next building envelope, Brian can kind of get into the details, but we came forward in the 2022 budget. 2021 budget to try to do it, and they didn't get the project done in time for last year's capital improvement. We've been having some issues with the building as this building is starting to age. So we worked with a company out of Madison that came in and developed the envelope study for us. So as you guys are probably sitting there seeing these numbers and about falling out of your chair, yes, we did the same when we got this plan, but it's some things that we have to definitely look at for the integrity and stuff of this building. So I'll turn it over to Brian.
So we had a company out of Madison came in and did what they call an envelope study of the building to look at the inside and outside, more of the inside of the wall type of a structure. And the reports for that are all on the share drive here at City Hall. But the numbers that we took that we would need to do these projects are numbers that they gave us, that they said this was at their case would have been a worst case scenario. And again, this came in about this time last year when they gave us the final results of the study. If you look, we've kind of up on the second floor. Since I started, there was always, okay, so why do we get water when it rains? And that we've had everybody under the sun look at the project. We re-roofed the building, think that was a problem. We were still having water. Then we actually cut holes in the side of the building and looked at what it actually looked like inside. And at that point, the gentleman from the local company that did that, as soon as he felt in, said, well, I think I can tell you what the problem is. And then when this envelope study folks came and looked at it, they looked from the drawings and everything else that was presented to them, that the way that the building was flashed, there was no way for it not to do the things it was doing. So it's flashing to the inside of the building rather than the outside of the building. Now, Kevin and I have had many discussions about, what do we do? couple of places in the building that you can see readily that these issues happen. One is where you walk in the employee entrance. We have stained ceiling tiles, and it's one of those things, okay, so what do I do something with the ceiling tiles, or do I leave them? Because if I do something with them, it rains, I'm right back to where I'm at today. Up on the second floor, where we've notoriously have had water. We've been lucky or unlucky that we haven't had rain this year, so we haven't had rain and water coming in there. And the other spot that's really bad is right outside the council chambers here, in the hallway. If you look at the header there where the paint is flaking away, that's also the same issue, just in a different spot. So every place that there should be flashings going from one building, one height to another is where we're having these issues at. So that's kind of where we came up with the number one issue was the flashing, and that was their thought was that's the number one thing that needed to be taken care of was the flashing in this building.
And that's what all of 58 is?
That's 58, yep.
It's just flashing. Wow. Okay. Is
That Aldernot is actually cutting the bricks out one by one, redoing the flashing and putting the bricks back in.
Jeez, okay, that would be why. All right.
It's the entire building where the second floor meets the top of the first floor along this whole wall. Where the third floor, actually where you enter to go out onto the roof down to the second floor, we have that same issue. We have the same issue up here where along the fire department goes to the hip roof that we're on the council chambers are all spots where this is the issue that we're having.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Mayor.
So Brian, if we do nothing ever, what is the result of that?
Water inside the building and deterioration of water and continue to deteriorate the inside of the building. The brick and stuff will at some point start to deteriorate and crumble away. Would you agree with that, Kevin? Is it in time?
Yeah, it's Mayor, it's a moisture issue. So we're getting moisture intrusion that happens in all masonry building. Our problem with City Hall is it never designed or wasn't built correctly where that water is allowed to then leave back to the exterior. So eventually down the road, you know, I couldn't say years, 10 or 20, right? You could get some heavier water stuff. You can start thinking of like things like mold where you get wet spaces that don't dry out. So it is something on the age of this building, right? It's only 20 years old. Potentially, I believe the city would like to have City Hall for foreseeable future. So it is something that is an issue that at some point in time will have to be addressed to make sure that City Hall functions properly for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because I know that this has been a problem ever since that I know of with this building. There was a problem with the design. And so it's been an ongoing problem. I feel like multiple times we've taken corrective action that hasn't really dug into the root cause. And so I'm, probably agreeing that by doing this study, you've finally gotten to the bottom of it to correct what is wrong. And so I was just trying to look at like, can we put it off? Do we need to do it now? That's why I worded it in such a way, like, can we put it off forever? Or do we have a timeline ticking before we have a bigger problem?
Well, my experience has been that nothing causes damage to structure more than water and smoke. So in this case, it's water. I mean, how much is seeping in? Obviously, I agree, Mayor. I mean, this falls under my personal number one priority of maintaining at first what we have. I did not have this on my above the line coming in tonight, but now that I understand better, why it's such a high dollar. Yeah, Diane.
Thank you, Chair. So a couple questions I have. So do we have to worry about mold?
Oh, yeah.
and our
that-
employees.
Oh, can that be expensive?
I
to
mean, I
mitigate?
think, we don't, this plan is to do the entire building. If we wanted to do a portion of the building, cut that number in half to see it, we can do that. Now, there'll be additional costs from bidding it and, over but we can come in and analyze it and see, is this fix correctable? When we met with the consultant, he looked at the year, he looked at it plans, and he knew, because he does this all over the state. He knew exactly, what the issue was.
So, yeah, go ahead, Dan.
And so just a couple follow-ups. Now, my understanding wasn't, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong on this. My understanding also was that part of this issue, with this whole envelope project and the flashing project, was we also lost our voting machines because of this. Which
There was water, heavy rain
Right.
that came in through a vent.
Right.
Yes.
And we've had water coming through the windows, right? Like on the fire side, there's been issues for years with the water that just comes right down like,
That was a roof issue.
oh, that was a rough.
was a rough
Okay.
issue.
So I'm, what I said at the beginning of the meeting, I am one that I firmly believe that we need to maintain what we have before we start buying and building new buildings. And that's going to be my position. I know when City Hall was built, I thought it was just a really neat building, and it was a simpler built building, but I thought that it looked really nice, and I anticipated that it was going to last for quite a few decades, and I'm just disappointed that we've heard whoever built it and the work that was done, that there have been continuing issues through the years. That's in the past. Now, what are we going to do about it? And at the end of the day, I like the idea, like, can we kind of piecemeal it and, but I think we need to, I'm for attacking it in some fashion. I just don't think we can just turn a blind eye to it, because I think we're asking for trouble.
So here's my recommendation, open for discussion, of course, is that we move it forward for discussion next month, but I would like to hear how we can do this in smaller bites. Because I don't know that we would ever be able to find the full amount, to be honest.
But I think with Brian and Kevin meeting and discussing it, they gave us a linear square foot price and a total area. So we can go back in the plan and we can break it down, and maybe we do the third level elevator shaft. If you go upstairs outside of engineering and park and rec, we have a lot of water that comes in there if it's coming in. So do we focus on doing that area first? And then we come back, we could give you some budget options to say, okay, if we have 50,000, this is the kind of area that we can do. Or if it's 100, that to kind of work, through that process.
And I would like to see movement on it, but I don't think it's realistic to say we can do it all at once. So let's, my recommendation, open for discussion, is that we move the whole chunk forward to discussion next month, understanding that a good portion of that will probably be deferred and we'll get some movement on it. Mayor,
I'll
what do you?
agree with that.
Okay, all right. All right, next is the handicap ramp railings into the rear of the police department.
Right.
I mean, probably something we should do. It's not a big dollar item. I don't know. I did not have it on my initial, but I'm looking at it again, thinking otherwise. What do we think?
That
Yeah.
again is where the salt and material we used in the wintertime to make sure that the ramp is safe for the PD to come in and out of the back entrance is just rotted off the rails coming up the back entrance.
Well, is it, okay, so is it,
And there's there'll be a little bit of concrete work there to do also, but 90% of it is we need new railings coming in the building back there.
okay. What's the rest of the committee think?
This is a safety issue. I think we should move it forward.
Okay,
Agreed.
all right. It's kind of where I was starting to lean now too, so. All right. And then on number 60 with the concrete projects, there's maintenance and then there's safety. So my first question, and when you address this one, is, are any of these serious safety considerations right now? Is it that to where, you've got the raising in between the blocks where there's a trip hazard or anything like this? Or is this something that might be able to be deferred?
There's one small area that when the PD comes in the west entrance, there's a section of cement there that has dropped. And my thought is that probably could be done in miscellaneous concrete and wouldn't be an expense to this magnitude.
So.
We probably could maybe even handle that one. If that's all the piece we were gonna do, we could maybe even do that in-house. That small piece of pavement.
Okay, so you'll be able to do it in-house. We can just strike it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
A and B.
Yeah.
Okay, A and B. All right.
The other concrete is just over the years with the fire trucks being out there washing them. There's again, just water running through the cement and.
Okay, all right, so if you can do it in-house, is there anyone who thinks that we should be doing it otherwise? All right, moving on to 61. My view, and I'd like to hear everyone's input, of course, is that from this point forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, we really need to. We have to cut this off at some point. I mean, we're already exceeding what we're gonna be able to do for next year. I'm looking at the figures going right now, we're way over. Is there anyone who thinks we must do this year 61 through 64 or any one of them? Including you, Brian, is there, or are you
I
good
mean,
with this?
My one comment I'm gonna bring up about 61. I mean, you walk up into the area, they got holes in the floor, they got it taped up. They got holes in the staff areas. It comes back to something when people are, what the expectation is coming. And, we have a facility to maintain that facility. I just think, our staff shouldn't have to have taped together carpet, in their space. If they wouldn't have holes in the carpet and things, the area where the park and rec are now, this area right here is wearing okay. But that is a space that I think we have to do the due diligence. And I think even from a liability standpoint, somebody step up and catch
Yeah.
their foot in it and fall down, and now we have a workers' comp claim. This $30,000 to do carpet. And I'll be honest, Brian has been very frugal with this and have been able to do sometimes more areas with the money that we have would be money well spent.
Okay.
And I understand we have to cut things off. I get it. It's just, I think it's something that has to be looked at.
You made
We
a good
continue to
point.
push these.
Yeah, let's leave it in for now.
Okay, all right.
Anybody wants to come up, they can come up and look at my office where my chair rolls around for the last 22 years. And did you see it the other day?
Oh, yeah. A quick
So-
question, if I may ask of staff. So when it talks about carpet in meeting rooms, public works suite, so how much are we talking? Are we talking about the entire?
The
public
entire
works,
suite.
All
So,
the offices and
Yep.
the main, okay. And the
So,
entryway.
we've done the admin suite, we've done the finance and clerk suite.
Mhm.
Most of the PD has been done, so we have been taking sections and working with it. We basically have some of the meeting rooms and then fire and park and rec and public works.
It's kind of like the parks, we put it all in at once, but we can't do them all in 1 year. So
Right.
we've been
But-
kind of trying to do one every year, every other, or based on need. So
And I think the nice thing that we've gone to is gone to carpet squares.
Yeah.
So instead of replacing the whole carpet, you can get that carpet. We have extras of carpet squares and we can replace places that have been stained or there may be an issue with.
I know that was discussed at Park and Rec this last month, or at the budget meeting 2 months ago. And I thought Brian did a really good job about defending about what your philosophy was and such, and especially going with the carpet squares really is much more efficient and cost effective. So I'm going to support item 61 going forward. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're in agreement, looks like. Okay. But you're good with 62 through 4 then? You deferred?
I mean, we get it. We understand.
Okay,
We're at-
right. We are in the info tech department right now with 65, 66, and 67. Will you be addressing these, Jared?
I'll take them. So 65 is the extension of a city fiber optic cable to well number 9. Currently, we have the fiber optic cable to the Wilson Street side of the high school. And this would extend it down Wilson Street and toward well number 9, which is on 11th Avenue South. This would be, we do currently pay for fiber at that facility. We get rid of that operating expense, but the water utility does cover that. The water utility would be covering this expense because it would be serving a water site. I think with what the budget is right now, I think this would have to wait a little bit to see what happens. Maybe we can lump it in with a bigger project to extend it to other areas of the city. It would be good, but as you say, the return on investment. We're not gonna gain a lot of operating dollars by doing this, so.
Okay. And the dash park security cameras, I know we've talked that for a couple of years.
Yeah, Dan may be able to say a
Kind of
little bit
nice
about this
stuff.
too.
I mean, I would like to have them, but boy.
I mean,
just don't know.
again, it's what we're up against right now, and I think there's other projects that need funding more than this at this time.
Yeah, actually, out of the priorities that, I don't know if this was in order of priority with IT or not, but in my view, 67 was the most important out of the three. So,
Dan can kind of speak a little bit, maybe
Yep, but I
Justin,
think
but the,
Diane-
this has been in there for a while and it's, the Omni Center is an older facility. They have to give someone a locker room key with a half of a hockey stick on, it, so they don't walk off with it. And there's so many coaches that have keys for the years and trying to change out key locks, and it would just make the system better, but I'll let them.
far more secure, hands down, yeah.
Right. I mean, for us to be able to turn off things or give people access for a weekend, to a certain locker room and things would be beneficial for us to be there.
Diane,
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we talked to death about 67 and I'd really like to see 67 finally get approved for a whole bunch of reasons, but I do have a question about 66. I know when the sculpture was put in, it was put on, because I was the one who made the motion, that's why I remember it, that the sculpture was not to be installed until security cameras were put in. Because it was like $175,000 plus or minus, investment.
There is.
There's a camera for the sculpture.
That
So-
the sculpture has a camera on.
So-
The Great River Landing has cameras.
Yeah.
Great River Landing has cameras, but Dash Park does not.
Okay.
we gotta be careful, actually.
I'm sorry, Dash Park,
Dash
Park.
Park.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm good. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
All right, yeah, we should be careful what we're saying and when it comes to security on that stuff, so, okay. Well, my recommendation is the fobs
Is
get
six-
approved,
Was 66 out?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
unless you want to argue otherwise.
No.
Okay. So,
I'll agree to take out 65 and 66, but leave in 67.
all right. And then I think we are done, because city administrator has nothing under capital improvements. They have in the past, but you got funded a lot too, so you really were taken very well care of last year, I'll tell you.
I think
Don't get any ideas between now and.
Yes, Larry.
That's under the equipment. That's gonna be the general operating budget.
That would be capital improvement, yeah. 1 second, I'm gonna see how close I am here.
we have a finance director for that.
And, well, I know, I'm gonna double check with, for sure. So, plus
As much as that's gonna make the motion.
759.2. All right, unless I'm off totally, I've got us around the ballpark of $5,159,100, of which give or take 637.9K is going to be short-term borrowing. Am I close? No? What did I do wrong here?
So my total is $7,161,633 with 2 million being.
Oh,
for the
you got the
community
extra 2
center.
million. That's what I didn't do. Yeah.
Which then brings us to a total of 5,161,633.
I was in the ballpark. I wasn't including that extra 2.
Of that, my estimate is that 502,541 would be short-term borrowing.
And the difference is I've got some like the library funds we haven't decided on yet, but until we find out we can use them, that, at least one of those would be short term, a couple things like that. So, yeah, I think your figures are the ones we go with, so. All right, but that's the $2 million discrepancy. I had not added in the other 2 million yet, so. So, and your your recommendation, Sabrina, by the end of next month, as we make a final recommendation to the full committee, where is it you're comfortable on our max being again, not including the 2 million, that's kind of separate.
3,750,000,
And we were at 5 point, what again,
5.1.
versus 3.75. So we do have our work cut out for us now. Yeah, that's quite a bit, but this is about where we are every year. Yeah, next year, next month is when the real hard work takes place. We've gotten rid of the easy ones. Now we have the real hard choices to make, so. Yeah, I understand we're gonna do some driving around as well. I saw an email on that.
Yeah, they did send out a doodle poll and we are coordinating, trying to get a time where we can go out and look at projects.
Okay, so recommend that all alders, if they can work it into their schedule, take a look at that, and of course the mayor as well. That'll help us make more informed decisions next month as too. Is there anything else somebody thinks I should have for guidance, or am I missing something before we get to pay estimates?
Oh, Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you were going to go through and kind of review.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what I have here is, thank you.
Mhm.
It's late,
Oh, I know.
and I've had a very long day. I was up very early this morning. So
That's why I wanted us to take a break earlier.
I'm actually more awake now than I was when I first got here, but I'll crash hard in about 20 minutes, I'm sure. All right, so I've got that we are moving forward, number 1, number 2, A through C. Number 4, number 5, number 6, I understand some of these have no borrowing cost. Number 6, number 9 and 10, number 13, 14, 15, and 16. Number 19. Well, I guess, I'm sorry, what am I?
Mhm.
16, that goes through all the way, yes. Number 19, number 23, number 24. Number 25 through 29. Number 31 through 34, and with 32, that's both A and B. Number 38 through 41. Number,
No,
No,
no.
wouldn't 41?
no, 41 does not have green check, you're right, 38,
you.
39, and 40. All right, number 46 and 47. And again, keep in mind 44, 45, and 48 were a separate standalone. Number 49 and 51. (55) through 59. 61. And 67.
And I will move that we put those aforementioned items that Aldernaut just mentioned, keep them and put them forth for the November 2023 Board of Public Works.
And if we
Capital
could have a separate document created with just those on
Yep.
to clean this up, that would be nice.
We'll cross off the ones that have been removed in case. Yeah.
Right.
And I know some of these other ones will quote unquote be crossed off because we'll have other funding or take that one in smaller chunks and all that too, so,
I will second that motion.
okay. All right,
And it's so, and under discussion, so I just want to make sure that they will be crossed off because sometimes they have a way of getting back on every now and then. So,
Yes, ma'am.
well, and they could be when it goes to the full committee. There might be one that
Yes.
we are recommending not,
Yes.
and somebody says, no, I want that back on, and they
Right.
get enough votes to do it. so.
and there may be good legitimate reasons and we may all go, yeah. So
Okay, so got my motion with those numbers to move forward for discussion next month, seconded by Jared. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. All right. Pay estimates. How many did we even have on here? Let's see. Do I have?
13 pay estimates.
I don't think I have them.
it should be
Oh,
I
here-
move that we approve the 13 pay estimates as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion to approve by the mayor and seconded by the finance director. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, that concludes the Public Works portion of the board. Now we'll move on to utilities where we have one item, simplified rate case application, water.
I can start this out. Our finance director, Sabrina Steger, is went on and submitted or performed the simplified rate case application. That came back as a 8% increase. We are looking at cost for that. For the last time the rates were adjusted were from 2019 data. So this is, even though the rates were actually raised in 2020 and 21, we got 4-year-old data. So in that time, our costs have went up. In 2022, the water utility basically broke even on a cash basis. So we're fortunate again this year. We actually have been selling a lot of water with the dry conditions, but we can't bank on that. So I guess with that, I'd give it to Sabrina to
Yeah.
the rest of the input.
Thank you, Jared. So the way the simplified rate case works is, you're allowed to do these. You could really take a look every year if you wanted. Due to the fact that we did put in the large increase over 2 years, we didn't really qualify until this year to go in and look for a simplified rate case. So the way it works is I go in and I filed it and they give me some preliminary data, which is what is in the packet tonight. They are recommending a rate increase of 8%. As you can see, like our eligibility, we just barely qualified at that 6.4%. So had that number been any higher, we would have had to do a full rate case study, which, takes time. It usually requires our auditors coming in and helping us do some work and some public hearings and lots of additional information that's required. I would strongly recommend that we would approve this. This is by no means approved yet by the PSC. It's just our application. I need the committee to approve the application and the council to approve the application, and then it will go on to the PSC. This would go into effect in January of 2024, which means you would see it on your April water bill.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the report to move forward.
Second.
Under discussion, assuming that this ultimately gets approved, how are we going to inform the public? And not only that this is happening, but to, I guess, one of the points here is that they haven't had a full rate case since 2021, September 20, sort of been 2.5 years, things of that nature, just to kind of soften the blow.
Yeah, so this, the simplified rate case application does require that we notify users of the water system. So this will be posted in the La Crosse Tribune that we have applied for this. Nothing's gone into effect, but we have applied for this simplified rate case. So that will go in this week's paper. And then likely we would have an insert in our utility bills in December stating like rates are going to increase to notify the public.
And it would be, and this is a very brief, 1 or 2 sentences, and this is why I'm hoping. So otherwise you're going to get the calls. Why are you doing this?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we could even, if the committee would like to see it, we could, between Amber and I and Jared, could work on some verbiage and bring that forward to committee, if that's what you'd like to see before we put the insert into the water bills.
I wouldn't need that. I just would like to know that you're doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anytime
Yeah.
things change, Jared and his team is really good about making sure we have an insert in the water bills.
Well, if this were to go through as proposed to 8%, I mean, that's fairly substantial hike. we need to explain why is all I'm saying. I don't need to see it. I just would like him to see why that's happening.
Yeah, and I think in regards to inflation and things of that nature, I think it's warranted to see an 8%.
Yeah, sure.
And the two water rate increases were over 20% that went into place in the past. So this will seem quite a bit smaller than that did, but definitely still is substantial.
Okay. Diane.
Thank you, Chair. So, and I agree. I think when it comes down to like an insert or something, that's really a staff function. It's not really a council overview. I know when it came to when we did the recycling quarterly fee, I know, I mean, that was kind of a big thing. And I know I did ask, or I did suggest, I made the suggestion to staff if, and I think I believe I had forwarded on like what a couple communities had done, specifically Madison, how they had handled it. I personally thought how they had informed their public, their community was done so professionally and just really, they did a super job. And I noticed that our staff ended up pretty much modeling it after that. So at the end of the day, I think it's hands off for council and it's really a staff function. So I would support that. So thank you.
Any other discussion or questions?
I just want to make a comment. I think that we have seen from historic that it's better to make more frequent, smaller adjustments rather than saving it all up for a big one. So 8% sounds good to me. I think we need to really make sure we're keeping our rates consistent so that we can have a strong water utility. And I approve and support this change.
Sabrina.
The only other thing I was gonna add is that in regards to the 8%, we can't really adjust that figure. So we can't say, oh, we prefer that it be 5. Right? That's not something that we can do. The PSC says 8, that's what you get. Unless we believe we would have to file additional paperwork and kind of make our case why we wouldn't want 8%, if that makes sense. So it's not really like, oh, we have this range, we have to go with the 8. And then if we decide that that's too much, then we can submit documentation to get it to a lower percentage, but that's typically not
Well, it's based on a study here anyway.
correct.
So, I mean, if you're going to ignore the study, I don't know why you do it. So just go with it. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. And we are on item number 12. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn at 9:13 PM.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Diane Wolf and seconded by Mayor Smith. Any discussion? Before we adjourn, I just want 2 quick comments. First off, I want to thank the staff for the immense amount of work that they did in preparing these packets. It certainly makes us move along very quickly. I think that despite the fact that it is 9:13 and it's been, coming up on close to 3 hours, this is actually remarkably quick. We did a very good job tonight. I also want to thank the board because it's very clear that we all did our preparation for this. So thank you very, very much.
And
All
thank
those
you,
in favor?
Chair.
What's that?
And thank you, Chair.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Oh, he's staff. So I already thanked him, but yes. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion passes. It is 9:14. That may be a record.